Etepu, Assalamu alaikum. Namaste, Haroon Nefer. This is Kasant Keperu with another broadcast for you. Let me adjust this mic real quick. And today I want to talk about a really important subject, which is how to win the race war. But before I get into that, I want you to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. If this is your first time watching, welcome. And share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started and free the planet. So I kind of have my finger on the pulse of social media, so I know exactly what people are talking about. Plus, I do interviews every now and then, so I know what are the hot button topics. And one of the things I'm hearing a lot of is the race war. And it seems to be that everyone has an opinion, which is dangerous, okay? Because you don't want to base how you move strategically based on an opinion. You want to understand the nature of reality. Now, what does that mean, understand the nature of reality in order to win the race war? Well, you have to understand this. And in order to go forward, you have to go backwards, in a sense. You have to understand history and how you're being played. One of the things that we can learn from ancient Kemet, which is Egypt, and the Greek and Roman civilization, is that back then there was no racism. In fact, those civilizations were, I would say, Kemet or Egypt in the later on down the line when it started to do trade with the Greeks and the Romans, was a cosmopolitan. So was Greek and so was the Roman Empire. They were eclectic. They were mixed with a lot of different people from different nations. But if you look at modern media and if you study history from the major universities, you will think that they were like these pure white societies because you're being lied to. They were cosmopolitans. So much of the way, if you go to New York or I guess San Francisco or LA, you will see an eclectic mix of people. That is the same way these ancient civilizations existed. Now, as you move forward, you'll see that they created this concept of race, which is fictional. And from that point on, they wanted to basically vilify any culture or people on the planet that came from a darker skin hue, and those that came from European civilization, paint them as being more advanced and more civilized. This was done on purpose, all right? And I'll get into that. But the problem that we're facing today, and I'm going to try and make this whole conversation very clear and concise, and I'm going to offer you like maybe 5 solutions to winning this race war. So you have to understand that this whole situation of race is a constructed, it's not organic, it's a constructed concept. It's been created to cause factionalism, all right? And what I'm hearing now on social media and from different groups, whether it be white supremacists, because yes, I do have conversations with white supremacists. I made a film called White Power, and ever since then, it's got about 1 million views on YouTube. And these white supremacists, they have dialogue in the chat box about that. They talk a lot about it, in fact, you know, and I sometimes participate in those discussions. So the same with the black nationalists. So a lot of what I'm hearing about is a war or getting together, forming militia groups or you know, arming yourself, and then there will be this military assault in the future. What you have to understand is this, and this goes the same thing for people who follow people like Alex Jones or who understand that there's something wrong in the government, but that they're sincere, but they're wrong in their approach because they think the way to solve this is through like a military coup or something of that nature. The weaponry that you see out there that's paraded in front of the media by our US government is years behind. You do not see the advanced military weapons that they have, the lasers, the anti-gravity devices, because they won't show it to you. And for a reason, that's their trump card. So you're not privy to the real weapons that they have. What you're seeing is at least 15 to 20 years behind. And that's the way they want you to see it because that gives them the military advantage, all right? Just the same way you'll never know how many nuclear weapons they have or if they really do have nuclear weapons. These are closely guarded secrets, So if you're thinking that you're upset with, let's say, for example, the Trump administration or any administration, and you want to do a military takeover or a military coup, understand what you're fighting against. Because if you pose any real threat to them, they will pull out those advanced weapons and will devastate you. So the idea of trying to put together a militia group or put together your own private army is stupid. All right, get that straight. You're not going to win in that sense. And I hear this thing about a race war. Now, wars can be fought on many levels. All right, so it doesn't have to be a military war. It can be a war of the mind. And that's what we're really fighting. One of the things that we have to understand is that both white and black people have a common goal and a common enemy. And we've yet to come into the realization of that, unfortunately. And I'm going to explain about that. So we know that the space-time continuum has been disrupted. What I mean by that is our history has been changed and be rewritten, and that there is something going on that we need to understand. There is the wizard behind the curtain, and we have to pull back that curtain. Because there is a type of manipulation going on that both black and white people are being manipulated. Now, anytime you give the upper hand to one and where you then subjugate the other, what you fail to see, those who are subjugated, who are focusing their hate and resentment on those who have given the upper hand, is that those who have been given the upper hand are not necessarily those in power. Do you see what I'm saying? Though you may see that they have advantages, but the bigger picture, which is the 20th hexagram in the I-Ching, the oracle, the Chinese oracle, the I-Ching, talks about, the 20th hexagram talks about a tower, and that when you get on top of this tower, you have a bird's eye advantage viewpoint. And the masses of black people don't have that bird's eye viewpoint. So they focus their anger and hatred toward common white people, which is exactly what mainstream media and the ruling elite want you to do. And for the white people who have the advantage and don't want to lose it, they're conditioned to believe that criminality and crimes are caused, and drugs are caused by black people. So thus is the grand chess game, the manipulation. And both factions fall susceptible to that mind programming, all right? Now, that doesn't absolve white people from the things that they have done, and it doesn't absolve black people from taking responsibility for their actions as well. But what it is I'm trying to get you to understand that there's a bigger plan at work here, a much bigger plan at work. Whenever you're trying to manipulate and control the planet, the way you do that is to first work through the left brain by creating factionalism, splitting hairs over and over again, so that these individuals or these groups can never come together collectively. There's an old film called, I think it's called Flash Gordon, and the song Queen made it very popular, okay? And Ming the Merciless, if you ever watched that film, talks about how he gained control and power. He said that he put these groups, these races of creatures against each other, created false wars and false flags. And that is the way he was able to keep them in control and keep them from aligning together to working together. And when Flash Gordon was talking to the princess, and he says, well, why don't those groups come together and take over? And she says, what does that word mean, come together? And that was a profound statement, you know? So what you have here, and if you read Bacon's Rebellion, is that you have this idea that you give privilege to one and you downgrade the other and keep them fighting. And you see this being played out all over the world, where resources are taken from one and given to the other. And thus you create things like a Middle East crisis, you create things like fight religious wars, and so on and so forth. This is the same plan over and over again. David Icke coins it problem, reaction, solution. Now, what I'm telling you is that in order to win this race war, you have to have a different perspective and a different view of things. The first thing that you can do to win this race war is to understand that we have a common enemy. I'm going to get into that a little bit deeper. And this is shocking. And that the problem with the planet is not racism or white supremacy. The problem with the planet is left brain linear thinking. That's the main problem of the planet. If you could do away with left brain linear thinking and incorporate dual brain thinking, the world would change overnight. But we think it has to come from Islam. We think it has to come from Christianity. We think it has to come from Judaism. When you start subscribing to those factionalism and that thought process, you create the Hegelian dialectic, meaning that you polarize our thinking. You give us choices, left or right, and both are wrong. You know, the same way the political parties are structured. You have your Democrats, Republican, in every election. That's all you can vote for is either Hillary or Trump or Hillary or Obama. But the answer or solution resides outside of those two choices. Because anytime they give you those two choices, you really have no choice. It's either bad or worse. Which one are you going to pick? Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're already set up to fail. Understand that. So the first solution in this race war is to master how you think, meaning get back to whole brain dualistic thinking. Because when you are thinking primarily out the left brain, which is how the education system is constructed, the political system is constructed, the economic system is constructed, then you set yourself up for creating an enemy. Because the left brain only understands polarization. It understands you and I. It doesn't understand that there's just I, just the oneness. It can't conceive of that concept. It only can understand the good guy and bad guy. So it has to have a bad guy, which is why every term a new president comes into, there's always a new enemy. The left brain can only see things that way. It doesn't know how to reconcile opposites. Let me say that again. It does not know how to reconcile opposites. So it creates polarization, left, right, good, bad, yin, yang. It doesn't understand that nothing is your enemy, that there's only the one. And yet, when we understand that the problem of the world comes from left brain thinking, then you are able, from a psychological perspective, to classify a mental illness. The mental illness, which is racism, white supremacy, is a mental illness. But they don't want to classify, and that mental dysfunction resides primarily from people of European descent, because they are left brain thinkers. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a left brain thinker, but when everything you see is a nail, and you want to become a hammer. So in other words, what I'm saying is you approach every problem from a left brain perspective. You're meant to use both sides of your brain. Now, I want you to understand that innately, there's nothing wrong with people from European descent. There's nothing wrong with white people. What is wrong is when you make everyone see things from your viewpoint. That creates the mental dysfunction. Going to an education system and saying you must learn from a left brain perspective, that's a mental dysfunction. No, you have to see things from a whole brain perspective, because science knows this, but won't reveal this, that most of the advanced civilizations of the world was created by people who were dual brain thinkers, who are melanin complexion. Because melanin complexion are dual brain thinkers, whole brain thinkers. European from Europe, Caucasus Mountains, are left brain thinkers, and nature endowed them that way to survive. Nature endowed people with melanin to survive. So the academics, the modern academia has to classify this and say this, that racism is not an inherent trait of people of color. It's not. Now let's go further down the line. As I said before, racism is not going to be won or the race war is not going to be run through a military might, because we know the Kemetic people said might does not make right. So we can't fight it on that level. Plus, we know they have advanced weaponry. So that goes out the door, thinking we can beat them in that way. All right. But what we have to understand is that when we get into history and we start to understand that history was not primitive and our people were not primitive as the media wants to paint them, History Channel, Discovery Channel, education system, but they were very advanced and more advanced than we were, and they were morally upright. They were based on Ma'at. So let me take a moment here just to greet everybody in the chat room. Hetepu, Purple, Mr. T, Haru Nefer, Osset, Hetepu, always good to see you. And Carlnet, Flag, Hetepu. So I want you guys to hit the like button, please, and let's get those likes up. That helps the channel. Nikki, Hetepu, what's going on? And if you guys are feeling inclined, please donate to the channel if you like the topics and the subjects I'm talking about. So let's get back into this, all right? We know that Bacon's Rebellion, where white and black people were both slaves, but the government realized that they had to give white people the advantage, or else the white and black slaves would come together and form a revolution. So they concocted their plan and their strategy. All right, but because we understand history and we understand that the way that the ruling elite came into power was through dark forces, black magic. This is they are masters of the occult, and they were able to formulate a reality, to create a reality through hypnotic suggestion. So we're living in a hypnotic state right now, and we don't even realize it. Okay, because history, the history that we subscribe to is one of an infinite number of possibilities in our past that we can access. The minute that we decide that history no longer serves us, or we do not wish to partake in it, our history will change. This is the basis of the 100 monkey principle, the Japanese mesquite monkeys, that when a people reach a certain tipping point, that their ideas will circulate like a virus through the psychic realm. So reality changes based on the masses' belief system. And this was proven, and this is coined the 100 monkey principle. So in reality, slavery is only one of many histories that we can access. But the ruling elite has got us so much wrapped up in this hypnotic tunnel that we're only accessing that reality of slavery, which keeps us subjugated in the present now moment. Do you understand? Because the only thing that exists is not the past or the future, but the now moment. But we misinterpret the past as the past and not a different perspective on the now moment. Okay? But when you understand there's an infinite number of futures and an infinite number of pasts, then you can access any one of them simply by changing your vibrational frequency in the present. That changes your past, and it will definitely change your future. The ruling elite, the dark magicians, understand this. They understand it very clearly, which is why there are symbols, signs, vibrational frequencies that they're pumping out through your cell phones, through towers, that get you to subscribe to their version of reality, to subscribe to their narrative. What is that narrative? The Hegelian dialectic, the left brain thinking. That's their narrative. That's how they're able to capture and control the planet. So you have to understand that if you want to fight this racism thing, or win this race war, you have to get together and align with people of like mind to change the reality that is currently there. That's a hard thing to do, because we're already conditioned to subscribe to different factional alliances. Well, I'm part of the LGBT movement. Well, I'm part of the MGTOW movement. Well, I'm part of the Republican movement. Well, I'm part of the liberal movement. Well, I'm part of the right to lifers. No, well, I'm a conservative. Well, I'm a liberal. Well, I'm for feminism. Well, I'm for men's rights. No. Well, I am a black person, I am a white person, you know what, I'm a biracial person, you know, I am Indian, and it goes on and on forever. They do this on purpose. It becomes convoluted and confusing. And then they play the game, as I said before, of taking resources from one and giving it to the other so they can see the two fight. Their greatest fear and what will topple them and crush them is people on the planet coming to a consensus of opinion, the mass consensus agreement, the MCA, because that will change reality. You see, they already, the reason why they've changed history, because they already know that there's a future that they want us to go to. They've already plotted out what the future will look like, and the future already exists. And to get us to that future, they had to change the past, rewrite the past, and have us subscribe to that past. Instead of us writing the narrative, we allowed them to do it, which is why we're enslaved right now in this present now moment. It's the dawn of the dead. Let me say it again. It's the dawn of the dead. The masses of people are dead. They're walking dead. They don't realize what is going on. And you're actively participating in your own demise and own destruction. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the first way that you can win this race war is to deal with the 100 monkey principle, which is, like I said before, very difficult because it's going to be difficult for you to get with like-minded individuals. And as I said before, white and black people have a common goal, and we don't even realize that. Let's go on. The next way that you can win this race war is that you have to come into a realization of your own individual power as God man, God woman. Because when you do that, you can shift to a new reality just like that. Let me say it again. You can shift to a new reality just like that. Many people got upset that Trump won. I actually like Trump. I think he's funny. You know, he makes me laugh. And I think, to be honest with you, Trump and I have a lot of the same personality traits. Now, would I vote for him? Hell no. But I wouldn't have voted for Hillary. I don't vote in those two-party elections because I said before, it's polarized thinking. But when Trump won the election, I was kind of like happy. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is going to be an interesting experience because you're here to experience this fourth dimensional reality. It's Maya. It's not real. Now, I've always said this. I said there's some of us who shifted to a different reality where Hillary Clinton is president. Yes, that reality exists. But the reason that you and I haven't shifted there is because this reality serves us for some reason. And it serves me because I have a very similar personality to Trump. So therefore, my vibration is aligned with Trump. So I'm going to shift to his reality where he's president. Make sense? And those who have a personality trait that's similar to Hillary Clinton have already shifted to the reality where she's president. But both of them are corrupt. Both of them are no good. And voting does no good. It's a waste of your time. But you know what? I'll let you decide what you want to do. I'm not saying you shouldn't vote, but I'm letting you know your vote really doesn't count because they stack the deck against you. You know, you lose no matter which one you vote for. They're very sophisticated in their thinking and how they structure the planet so that they win all. It's like you're walking into a casino in Las Vegas. No matter what you play, whether it be, I don't know the games because I don't gamble, but was it blackjack? What's blackjack, the wheel you spin, or poker? No matter what you play, well, not poker, but the other things. I forgot I don't know those names. That's actually a good thing because I definitely don't gamble. Or these slot machines. No matter what you play, the house is going to win. It's always the odds are stacked in the house's favor. That is exactly how the political system is structured. That's exactly how the economic system is structured. You work to death to support the wealthy 1% and make them richer. Look at Jeff Bezos monopolizing everything. You want something, you're going to have to order it through Amazon. He's hoarding wealth. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Wealth is supposed to be ma'at. It's supposed to be shared. All right, so the second way to combat and win this race war is to come into a realization of your God power. That means that you can watch things happen and with a light heart, ma'at, and say, anytime I don't like this reality, I can vibrationally shift to a different reality. Let's take this for example. I'll get up in the morning, right? And if there's something that happens, like say, for example, my landlord increases the rent. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this. This is unfair. He never put this in the contract. But I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm not going to get upset about it. I'll just say, you know what? I'm just going to do a meditation and shift to a new vibrational reality, one where my rent is lowered. That's how I operate. That's how I roll. You know, I don't like my mate. She gets out of pocket. I'm going to say quietly. She gets out of pocket. I just say, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to shift to a different reality where you're a different person. And I got a better mate. Be careful how you say that, all right? No, but I'm being real with you. I don't like my professor at school. I'm going to shift to a reality where there's a different class and different professor. And therefore, you go through life knowing you are empowered. That it's all just an experience. It's not real. It's like watching a movie, a horror movie, and getting scared when a killer is chasing the woman, and you getting wrapped up in it and thinking it's real, but it's just a movie. Calm down. Oh, girl, don't open that door. He's behind the door. Don't open that door. Chill. It's just a movie. You're just here for the experience. That's what life is. Just an experience. Oh my God. You know, that police officer just killed that guy who opened his door, who was in his apartment doing nothing, and she claimed she was at the wrong apartment and just pulled her gun and killed him. Yes, she was wrong. But chill. It's just an experience. It's an illusion. Don't get wrapped up in it. Anytime you don't like what's going on, just shift to a different reality. That is your power. That's what it's there for. But instead, you let the ruling elite have you shifting to realities that conjoin with their wishes. And then you're wondering why life is kicking your ass. All right. The third way that you can win this race war is you have to understand that we're not the only beings on this planet. Duh. But you see, left brain thinking only wants to look at what is solid, what is material. It says, if I can't see, feel, hear, and taste it, it doesn't exist. Really? That's the fallacy. That's the mistake that the left brain constantly makes. They're sending so-called probes out to other planets and saying, well, the planet first has to fit the criteria of being an earth-bound planet and has to be in the Goldilocks territory, which means that it's habitable for life. And then they have to be physical life. Who said that? That's your rules based on left brain thinking. That's your rules. Life comes in many different forms. Some life is metaphysical. It's in the spirit realm. But back to what I was saying, that there is life on this planet besides us. That life comes in the form of extra-dimensional, interdimensional beings. And they have a direct say in how our reality unfolds. And anytime you want to communicate with them, you can go into a trance state, or you can take a medicine like DMT or ayahuasca and then interact and communicate with these interdimensional beings. And they're actively and readily willing to help us on the condition that we ask for their help. We already have guidance and wisdom from the Supreme Being, God, through the oracles, through the divination systems of the I-Ching and the Ifa, the tarot. We can go to God and ask for wisdom and guidance, but many of us don't believe that's possible. So these beings exist in a different dimension, and they're waiting for us to come to them and to ask for help. And many people have testified to meeting these beings. And now science is now perplexed. Because before they thought these beings were just part of psychedelic experiences, now they're beginning to accept the fact that these beings may be real. They may be intelligences with our ancient shaman, the African shaman, the Chinese sages, knew that this knew all along for thousands of years about these interdimensional beings. So you have to understand that there's help out there, and that there are some things you can't overcome physically, such as the military might of the U.S. government. You can't overcome that. Man, they have black ops projects where they've been experimenting with transportation systems like the Star Trek transporter room, and they're nearly going to perfect that. They are experimenting in black ops projects with time machines. You come on, man. You talking about a race war? Get the hell out of here. You're not going to be able to defeat them. You got to battle them on a metaphysical level. Now, when I say win the race war, I'm talking about both black and white people because we have a common enemy. I'll get into that more. All right, so that's another way of dealing with this thing we have on the planet. So you have to understand the ruling elite, the 1%, call them whatever you want to call them, the Illuminati, the bankers, the wealthy rich. They are the ones who have created this concept of race and racism, and have basically injected that into the ether so that it spread like a virus. And their attacks have been primarily on women because women have the ability to go in trance. And women are the nurturers and the teachers of culture and morality. So if you don't have a culture, which the masses of black people don't, we have a ratchet culture based on hip hop and rap. And we don't have a culture that's based on African tradition or the veneration or the celebration of the gods and the spirits. We don't have a culture based on that. We've turned our back on that, which is why we find ourselves protesting, putting memes on Facebook about so-and-so white person called us nigger, you know, going like a dog going around in a circle chasing his tail. You're not getting anywhere. And I'm sorry to tell you that the Klan or the white supremacist groups or the neo-Nazis are not your biggest concern or your big enemy. They are minor players in a much grander scheme. So get off this thing about someone hurt your feelings by calling you the N-word. Get off this thing that you were, oh, you know, I was racially discriminated at a Waffle House or whatever. We are so majoring in the minors. You got to look at the big picture. The people who are at the top creating the policies, creating the food that's meant to kill you. You got to look at things like that. And you have to understand that though, the masses of white people, a lot of them may suffer from the sickness of racism. A lot of them do not, and they are your friends, and they will help you and work with you. But we have to realize the common enemy. Now let's get to that, the common enemy. If you think that Mike, let me reveal that comment because I think it's it's interesting what you just said, okay? Penis MD. If you think that you are fighting against the ruling elite, the Illuminati, you are freaking mistaken. Because they are not in control of the planet. Let me say that again. The ruling elite is not in control of the planet. And I want you to take a minute, guys, while I'm saying that, if you guys are in a position to do so, please make sure that you donate to the channel so we can do more videos, ebooks, and etc. Some exciting stuff. So your donation will be appreciated, okay? So the ruling elite is not in control of the planet. The planet is we're in a prison planet, like the Matrix, okay? And all of us are Neos. We're all Neos, okay? We have the power to manipulate the Matrix. The problem that we're facing is that we think that the white person thinks that the black person is the enemy who's shipping in drugs and creating the crime. And the black person thinks the white person is the racist person who's holding them back and who's discriminated against them. To a point, that's true. This is why in ancient Kemet we had Ma'ati, M-A-A-T-I, which means the two truths, the objective and the subjective, Okay? So that is truth. But the bigger truth is that there is an evil presence on the planet. An evil presence on the planet that is manipulating the situation. And it's this evil force that we need to deal with. Do you understand what I am saying? What I am saying is the people who you think are your enemies are not your biggest contenders in this boxing match. There's an evil force that you cannot see that will never, ever reveal itself to you that is manipulating and controlling everything. You will not see them because they make sure of that. They work through forces like the Illuminati. They work through forces like white supremacists. They work through forces like the military, but they're disguised. They're hidden. So when you talk about winning the race war, yeah, you may topple the neighborhood chapter of the KKK or skinheads, or you may even win a political victory. But understand, this powerful force is going to come back at you. And it's not going to use military forces or political forces against you. It's going to use dark magic. I was debating a young man on Facebook, and I told him, I said, if you believe that the police and their police brutality or that Trump is your enemy, you are mistaken. You are seriously mistaken. Because there is something so evil and so dark that would terrify you if you came into contact with it. Would have you running home like a little bitch. So all I'm saying is, I'm just trying to put everything in perspective so you get a real understanding of what you're up against, all right? This is why you have to tune into your own divinity. This is why you have to understand your God power. Because at any moment, if you don't like this, just shift to a new vibration, to a parallel world where it doesn't exist. Yes, you can do that. Yes, that's your right. And that is the only way you can win, is to understand your God man, God woman. So be careful when you start pointing fingers and saying, this is my enemy, this is how we're going to win this race war, because the reality exists that white people and black people have a common enemy, that dark force. Because white people, I think you understand very clearly that something's not right with the planet. I think you understand very clearly that they have misled you. Because black people have understood this for a long time. And I think white people are now coming into an understanding that something is wrong. Finally, I'm like, finally, you're coming into an understanding. Even like people like Max Egan, who I think is a racist, but he is now coming into an understanding like, oh, you know what? Something's not right. There is a dark force that is manipulating us. I'm like, finally. David Icke has understood this for a long time. People called him crazy. You know what I mean? So we're getting to the point of where the understanding, the wisdom is starting to spread, and people are starting to awaken from this nightmare. But they're awakening in the wrong way, because they're starting to think that, well, the answer to our problems is political power. No, that's not the answer. It's not the answer. The answer is tuning into your God power. That is the only way that you're going to get out of this matrix. It's the only way. Because when you're able to manipulate reality, then you're okay with the matrix. You and the matrix become pals. You become best buddies. Because anytime you don't like something, you change it. But keep in mind that whatever you're looking to change, or if you're looking to shift to a new vibrational frequency, to a parallel world, you got to give it time. You got to give it time. You know, some people come with the gift to be able to shift instantaneously. Others, it takes time. In fact, for most people, it will take time. But time is an illusion. Understand that. So, my beloved, I can say no more on this subject. But I've given you these pointers and these ideas to understand that there is no you versus me. There is only the I. There is oneness. And the law tells us from Ma'at that when you understand that you are one with all, you cannot oppose yourself. There's only one consciousness, one collective consciousness. There's nothing outside of that. And though you may feel as a victim of racism, you may feel as a white man a victim of a system that's attacking you through feminism, well, just because you're a bona fide victim doesn't mean you're going to receive help from God, because you have to actively work and do your role to support the whole. When you support the whole, then the whole protects you. Look at it as a machine. Each part in that machine must serve its function. And if it serves its function, the machine will operate smoothly. But if it steps outside of its function, the machine falls apart. And most of us are operating outside of our function. Most of us don't celebrate God, don't celebrate the ancestors, don't work with the spirits, don't go to the oracles for advice. So the machine doesn't function correctly, and then we want to scream victim. Well, you're going to be a victim because you're not doing your role. Ma tells us, and Sekert, the goddess Sekert, tells us that there's a place for everything and everything in its place. Don't step outside your place. Stay in your lane. For example, if I'm a Pisces, I'm supposed to do what a Pisces does. I'm not going to pretend to be a Cancer. It's not going to work. I'm not going to pretend to be a Taurus or whatever. But people go along and thinking they can step outside of their defined roles and start acting and doing things they're not supposed to be doing. That's how you get confusion. That's how you get chaos. That's how you don't get support from the whole. When you communicate with the interdimensional beings will say, well, are you fulfilling your destiny? And you're going to say, well, I don't know what my destiny is. So why do you think you're having troubles in your life? Because you don't know what your destiny is. That's why. You're not fulfilling your role. All right? When you sit up on a Sunday in a Christian church and you wonder why the world is the way it is, look at yourself. You're sitting in a Christian church talking to a minister who's an idiot, doesn't know anything. You need to be going and working with a sage, a Chinese sage, an African shaman, a guru from India. Work with these people. But remember, if you're not fulfilling your role, the machine cannot operate properly. And if the machine cannot operate properly, don't expect to get support from the whole. So don't cry victim, because you're not doing your part. You know what I'm saying? If you're not actively creating your reality on a day-to-day basis, and you complain about things that happen in your life, well, that's your fault, because you have the power to create a different reality. So don't cry victim. Don't say, oh, I got discriminated against. I went for that job position and they did this. Well, you can create a new job position. You have that power. Stop crying like a little bitch, please. Well, my mate, she's cheating on me. Did you go to the oracle and ask the oracle if you should marry her? Oh, no. Well, there you go. I'm just not doing well in this job. It's really kicking my ass. Did you go to the oracle and ask the oracle if you should be an accountant? Well, I did ask, and it said that I should be a computer programmer. So why didn't you study computer programming? It told you what to do. I don't know. And you're wondering why you are not a good accountant. And you're wondering why you got fired. You're not fulfilling your role. You understand? We all operate at a certain frequency. That frequency is best used in certain fields. If you start using your frequency in a field that doesn't belong to you, that creates disharmony. It creates an imbalance. This is why you're meant to fulfill your role. But, you know, we're living in a Western society that says, be free, be free. You know, I'm feeling very sexual today. You know, I feel like I'm a squirrel today. I'm a transgender squirrel. Oh, you're violating my rights to be a squirrel, you know. You were born with a free will. You're not an animal. All right? Anyway, my beloved, so that ends our discussion for today. If you've liked this video, hit the like button. Please, if you're watching for the first time, subscribe to my channel. And make sure you download our free ebooks. They'll give you more information on what I talked about. And before I go, let me just answer any questions. Shelley, I don't think I'll be controlled by an oracle. That's a very idiot statement, all right? Controlled by an oracle. I've just gone over everything to you. I'm not calling you an idiot, all right? You're not an idiot. That's an idiot statement. You're controlled by society. The light says red and you stop. So you're controlled. And the oracle understands that you're God man, God woman. The oracle gives you counsel. And the oracle doesn't say you have to follow it. The oracle says, if you want the best option, here is what you do. Oracle never says, oh, you must do this, because God respects God. Do you understand what I mean? You're God. You have a free will. That free will says you can do what you want. You even have the free will to ignore God. You understand? The oracle is just merely counsel on how to best navigate through life. It's not a control thing. All right? All right. So don't come off with, respect the oracle. It's the word of God. God respects you enough to say, you can do what you want. You can choose to ignore me. You can choose to follow me. That is up to you. God will not flinch. God is not going to intervene in your life and say, hey, you're not following that oracle reading I gave you. God's not going to do that. And Shelley, that's a good point you brought up, because I want to touch on that, okay? Very good point. Don't expect God to intervene and save you. Don't expect God to save you from the Illuminati or save you from evil, because God's not going to do that. Why? Because you have agreed to experience one in many particular instances of reality. There are infinite number of realities. You have agreed through your contract, your soul contract, or your pre-life agreement, to experience this reality. And because you've agreed to experience this reality, whatever comes your way, you have agreed to it. So God is not going to intervene and say, hey, I'm going to stop this agreement that you made because you're being treated unfair. No, it's an experience. It's not real. It's an illusion. And you've agreed to go through it for knowledge, for wisdom. So God's not going to intervene in that. He's not going to stop it. It's up to you to stop it. You understand what I'm saying? Well, Nikki, that's your choice. If you don't like this reality, I agree with you. Then shift to a new reality, No one says you have to stay here. You can move to a new reality, Okay? I mean, sometimes I move to a new reality where I have a harem of beautiful women who are at my disposal. Hey, that's just me. I like that, okay? Your reality where you could be will have an abundance of chocolate cake and chocolate ice cream, or golden unicorns. It's whatever you want. So And Daryl, you're right. Ignoring God is not wise, okay? Because that just brings trouble into your life. But you have the option to do that if you want. If you want to ignore God, you can do that, you know? But who are you truly ignoring? You're ignoring yourself, because remember, you're God man, God woman. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. This is Kasat Ma'at Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti, the most divine. And until my next broadcast, I'm in Ra.